Joining me live is my panel, Labor MP Peter Khalil and Liberal MP Trent Zimmerman. Gentlemen, thanks both for your time. Trent, is this really the big splash? It's $500 million. I'm sure it's welcome, but is this it in terms of new big spending in the climate area?
Well, I think that we'll see that outlined as we head towards MyEFO and the budget next year. But what it means is that between now and the end of the decade, we'll be investing something like $21 billion in new technologies. And that's just so important in driving the change that we need to see to get to net zero. And I think that today's announcement is particularly important because it will see the CEFC basically acting in the role as an angel investor in some of the exciting new technology that is going to play such an important part, not just for Australia, but for the whole world as we head towards 2050.
Do you feel a little bit guilty for trying to get rid of the CEFC?
Well, I wasn't in Parliament back when those endeavours were made. Malcolm Turnbull reversed those decisions. And I think that it is a really important institution. Both it and ARENA have been playing a critical role in driving up the amount of renewables that we have entering our system. And in fact, it's become, I think, the world's largest government-owned green bank. And so, no, I think the Abbott government got it wrong, and I think that the Morrison government has got it right in using it as an important conduit for investing in technologies like this.
Right, so there's the history of it. A mea culpa on behalf of others, if you like, from Trent Zimmerman. That means we can focus on today's policy. Peter, what's your view on this? Because Labor's blocked some of the pushes in the past from the government to be able to invest in some technologies. Yeah. The IPCC is pretty clear on this, that we're going to need every bit of technology we can get. So what's wrong with it being able to invest in things such as CCS or even green hydrogen?
Yeah, that's a very pertinent question, Tom, and I'm certainly not going to be going after Trent. He's not even a convert. He's a true believer in ARENA and the CEFC. He wasn't responsible for trying to get rid of it. I think to your question about the, well, first of all, what's the new money? Is this new money, or is it from a ghost announcement that's from elsewhere that hasn't been delivered? We want to find that out. We want to look at the details. Chris Bowen, our Shadow Climate Minister, has stated just yet today, and we want to look at these details. As to the substance about the way that you spend the money or invest through CEFC, we've always been very clear about the importance of it being a vehicle for renewable energy. And yes, as a matter of principle, all of the different technologies should be on the table. We should be getting, as Chris said, as well, Chris Bowen said, he's pragmatic. Whatever helps reduce emissions, great. But there goes to a question on return on investment on that particular fact, which is you've got a finite amount of government resources that you're spending, and certainly a private investment. Is it getting the return on investment? Is it making the best possible use of that money through those technologies, through those renewable energies, whether it's wind or solar?
That goes to the mandate,
emissions.
right? The CEFC is in charge of that. If it's given a mandate to get a certain return on equity, it does that. And that's not changing. It's about where they are able to invest with that return.
Yeah,
I mean, carbon capture and storage, the name is clean energy finance. It's not renewable clean energy. Carbon capture and storage, yes, it can be attached to a coal-fired power plant. And it can also just exist, possibly in the future, using renewable energy and just taking carbon out of the atmosphere. That's a form of cleaning the planet, isn't it?
Your points are valid, Tom, and this is why we need to look at the detail of this, because you talk about a return on investment, which is a financial return, which is part of its mandate, but it's also about making sure that there are investments in renewable energy that actually work around the bigger objective about reducing emissions as well. So wind farms, solar, and so on. We've always been very clear about not diverting the work of the CEFC, because what it was set up for was to do exactly that: invest in renewable energy, invest in solar and wind and those types of that kind of infrastructure and those projects to actually get that return on investment, but also the return in the sense of a reduction in emissions, which is the big objective that we're all trying to achieve here. So again, sorry, go on.
No, so I was just going to say, because we are a little short on time today, but let me just pivot on technology and talk to Trent, who's in a very upfront and honest mood today about the history of the coalition. Trent, not to go too far back, electric vehicles. It was going to end the ute in Australia. They couldn't pull a ute. There were issues because apparently people in fourth level apartments would have to dangle cords down to charge their car, according to Scott Morrison. What did you make of this rhetoric, the last election, all the way back in 2019?
Well, I've always been an enthusiastic supporter of electric vehicles and continue to be so. It's a no-brainer in terms of getting the transport sector to net zero emissions. And I think the problem you highlighted is a problem that many of us have. I live in a house without off-street parking, so I'm yet to work out how I can plug in an electric vehicle, and I hope one day that I can. But look, I do think that the announcements made yesterday.
So just on that then, so rather than talk about a solution to that last time, the Prime Minister sort of mocked it as a viable option to have a big uptake in Australia, essentially. So is that really a good approach for a Prime Minister?
Well, I think that what we're seeing is action in the announcement yesterday, recognising that we do need to support electric vehicles. And as I said, it's when 20% of our emissions come from the transport sector and about 70 or 80% of them come from the passenger car fleet, it is a no-brainer that if you adopt the target of net zero, which I'm really pleased that we have, that you have to support the uptake of electric vehicles. And I do think that's what will happen. We're just seeing so many billions of dollars being invested by the car manufacturers in the sector. It is going to drive change. We're going to see prices come down. We already are. And what this package is really about is making sure that we have the infrastructure in place at the grid system, at the grid scale, at the local scale, through charging ports that are available to charge you.
Well, what about the grid? Is there anything in here on making sure that the grid's stable when and millions of motorists go to plug in a car? What is there for the grid in this announcement?
So as part of the program, we've basically flagged it as a priority. We're going to be working with the states through those existing councils that are there to make sure that we do have the grid ready to cope with the influx of what will hopefully be millions of new electric cars.
So nothing concrete there. You're working on things on that.
But the other flip side, it's got to be a partnership with the states to achieve that. And bodies like AEMO are already started their work in planning for what it will mean for the grid having more electric vehicles. But I think the other side of the equation, which is really important as part of this package, is making sure that when people are installing the powering units in their homes, that they're installing smart chargers, and part of this program is designed to support households in doing that. Because we can actually see cars not only sucking power from the grid, but returning it as batteries, and that's what's really exciting.
Okay, yeah, to be able to go both ways, you need quick charges as well, of
Correct.
course. Peter, so Labor spoke about this being a scare campaign, and I think others might have some sympathy for that view, and yet your target, not even a mandate, but target for new sales 2030 to be 50% is gone. So you were scared off, seemingly.
Oh, please. I mean, we've announced the policy to make electric cars cheaper. We've addressed the affordability part of this equation, which is the real issue about consumers having the ability, the choice to be able to purchase electric vehicles, which is happening in Europe. It's happening around the world, and we're caught behind. What Morrison's announcement does, it touches on the anxiety range issue around the infrastructure and so on, but it really doesn't touch affordability. And does anyone really believe Scott Morrison or trust him that he's suddenly this convert to electric vehicles? I mean, he's fundamentally ideologically opposed, and you saw it in all of those clips. No matter how many double somersaults, triple somersaults he tries, everyone has seen it. And this is a really
so why did Labor walk away from the target then?
This is a really we've made an announcement around making electric cars cheaper by reducing import tariffs and also fringe benefits tax, because we understand the importance of affordability as a
but you've scrapped the target. I'm just asking why you scrapped the target.
Sorry?
You've scrapped the target of new car sales by 2030. I'm just asking why.
Well, I mean, we've announced a package of making electric cars and vehicles cheaper by reducing the taxes around them, because we recognise affordability is a key issue here. Targets are targets, they're important, but we think the most important thing here is affordability, and having Australians being able to have the choice of purchasing electric vehicles, which unlike their people in Europe and other parts of the world, we don't have as much choice at the moment. Manufacturers are not going to be putting their cars in our market because they don't have that option. it's not commercially viable.
Okay.
So I think.
Well, we'll see. We'll
Trent,
see if the big lever comes. So I'm going to have to jump in, Peter, because we're already running over. I'll be in trouble. I'm sure we'll pick up on it another day. But it's been a while since, thanks to the premiers, we got this panel going. So Peter and Trent,
Pleased to be back.
Talk again soon.
Thanks.
Indeed.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Trent.